Hello, welcome back. I'm Andreas, your tech-curious web designer. In this video, we're going to build the basic setup for our real-time chat application and integrate Htmx as a Ajax method for dynamic content loading. But before we jump into the code, a quick shout out to my new supporter on Patreon. A high five to Piotr. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. And now, without further ado, let's get coding. We start by installing our Django Starter project from my GitHub repository at github.com/ndjat/django-starter. If you're interested to know how I created this project and what's included, check out my Django Starter project video. I have a link to it in the description below. Here we download now all those files. So we go to code here and download zip. Then I unzip this file and I rename it to realtime_chat. Alright, this is now our project folder. Let's open it up in Visual Studio Code. And now first we install our virtual environment. So down in the terminal here, I write Python 3-m for module VNV and I give it the name VNV. As next we activate this virtual environment. This is the command on Mac, so source vnv/bin/activate. As next we are installing Django, which is already part of the requirements.txt file, with some other packages like Pillow for image uploads, AllAuth for user authentication, and Htmx. So we install them with pip install -r for requirements and requirements.txt. Then we also upgrade pip with pip install --upgrade pip. Then we run the migration to set up our database with Python manage.py migrate. The SQLite database was added to the project here now. And let's start up the server with Python manage.py run server. Alright, let's check it out. We go here to localhost:8000 and we've successfully installed the Django Starter project. Awesome. Alright, now let's add here our real-time chat application. So first let's change the project title here to real-time chat. So I'm going to templates, to includes, and to header. And here let's add this title. Okay, save this file. And we can close it. And now let's get started. We create a new Django app. So I shut down the server and say Python manage.py start app. And I give this app the name a_rtchat for real-time chat. The reason I'm not calling it chat is because I want to have a structure with my folders here and keep the core folder at the very top of the list. Alright, then we click enter. And our new app folder is created. Let's add it now to our installed apps. So in the core folder, in settings.py, we go to the installed apps and add it in here. Okay, save this file. We can close also this file now. Next we add the view. In our chat folder to views.py, I define my function. And for now, I just simply display a static page. So let's create this chat.html file now. So I copy the whole string here, go to my chat folder and create a template folder. And in here, I add this new file. So we have a template folder, we have the folder with the name of this app, and we have the chat.html file. And here I'm adding now my page components. So first it extends from the blank layout. And then I'm adding the content block. So in here now we add the code for our page. The code for this page you can get from my GitHub account at github.com/ndjat/realtime-chat. Alright, this is the repository. And here we can see the chat.html file. So let's click on this one. And copy the code by clicking on this icon here on the right. And paste it in here. Alright. Let's save this file. Next we add the path to this page. So let's create a urls.py file in our app folder. So I click on the folder here and create a new file, urls.py. Then first I import the path from django.urls. And from my views.py file I import everything. Then I add the URL patterns variable with the path. I'm calling here the chat view function, and I call this path home, because I'm placing it on the home page. Okay, save this file. Now we have to include it also to our main urls.py file in the core folder. And instead of the home view, we include here the URLs path from the chat app. Alright, save this file. Let's spin up the server and have a look. So python manage.py run server. And back to the browser. Okay, I refresh the page. And here we have the chat window loaded to our homepage now. Wonderful.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Okay, let's carry on now and create the tables for the database. So within our chat folder, we go to the models.py file and add here the chat group model class. This is the table which stores all our chat rooms. And for now, I will just add one property, and this is the name. And this is a char field with a maximum character number of 128, and the name is unique in the database. Next, we add the string representation of this object for our admin interface. And we display the group name. Alright, as next we add a table to store the chat group messages. I call this class group message. Then first we link it up with our chat group using the foreign key relationship. We give it a related name of chat messages. With this name we can call the messages on the group object. And we add the onDelete cascade attribute to delete the message when the chat group is deleted. Then we add the author. This is again a foreign key, this time to the user model. Let's import the user now. So from django.contrib.auth.models import the user. Then next we add the body of this message. This is a char field again with a length of 300 characters. And I also add a created property to save the time when this object was created. Then again we add the string representation. Here I'm displaying first the username, followed by a column, and the content of the body. And at last I add a meta class to order the messages from the newest to the oldest created. Alright, save this file. Now let's register those models in the admin.py file so they show up in our admin interface. So I'm registering here the chat group class and the group message class. Let's import those classes. So from .models import everything. Alright, save this file. Then we have to do the migration now. So I shut down the server and write Python manage.py make migrations, and then migrate with Python manage.py migrate. Then I also create a super user now, so we can log into the admin interface. With Python manage.py create super user. I give it the username admin. I add here email address. We need an email to sign in to our website. So admin@email.com and a password. And the super user is created. Alright, and now let's spin up the server and head over to the admin interface. Python manage.py run server. Then on my website I'll go to /admin. Add here username and password. And we can see here now the two new tables, chat groups and group messages. Okay, let's create our first chat room. I click here on Add Chat Group. And I call this chat group public-chat. And save. Now let's populate this chat group with some messages. I'm going to the group messages table. Add a new group message. Select here the group. Author is the admin. And in the body I add some text. Then click Save. Okay, now let's add another message, but this time from a different author. So let's create a new user. Add user with the username Bobby. Add a password. Then also an email address. And save. Then I also upload an avatar for Bobby. In the profiles table, upload an image. Add a display name. Okay, and then save. Now we can add a message from Bobby. Again, the same group. Author is Bobby. And some text for Bobby. Okay, and save. So we have two messages now. Let's display them on the page. So let's go back to the views.py file. Then in here, we first retrieve our chat group. I'm using here the getObject044 function. Let's import it now and also import the chat group class. So this is under shortcuts. And then from the .models I import everything. Alright, now once we have the group, we can now access all the messages which belong to this group. With chatmessages.all, but this will fetch now all the messages from the database. Let's limit it only to the last 30. So I'm writing here in square brackets, colon 30. Then we add the messages to the return statement. So in curly brackets, chat messages, colon chat messages. Alright, so as last I will also add a login decorator to this function, because I only want users who are signed in to access this chat. So here on top, I add login required and also import this decorator. From django.contrib.auth.decorators import login required. Alright, save this file. Now let's display these messages in our template. So I'm going to my chat.html file. So here we have a wrapper which positions the content in the middle of the page. And then in the chat window we have an element which displays how many people are online. And in the chat container we have a list with our messages. So let's collapse those li elements first. So we have three messages here, and the first one is from the logged in user. So this one is displayed on the right, while the others on the left. Let's get rid of the last li, and we are going to create an if-else statement here later, depending who the author is. So first we create the for loop. So for message in chat messages. Then we have to close this loop with end for. Alright, and now I'm adding here this if-else statement. So if the message.author is the logged in user, I display the style of the first li element. Else we have the style of the second one, with an avatar image and a display name. Okay, and I close it with endif. And now let's add the values. So here we have the body of the message. So the variable is message.body. We add it also to the other li element. There is the body. Then we have the author, and we display the name and the username. Then we also add the avatar of this author. This image here with message.author.profile.avatar. And I also link it to the profile page, which goes to the profile URL, and I add the author's username as a parameter. Alright, this should work now. Let's save this file and let's check it out. So I go back to localhost colon 8000. And as we can see, our two messages which has added to the database are showing up. Awesome. However, one thing I can notice here is that Bobby's message should be at the bottom, as it was the last one, so we have to reverse the order. And we can simply do that by adding the keyword reverse to this loop. Like that. Then save this file. Then refresh. And as we can see, the order is now reversed. Okay, as next, let's integrate the form so we can add a message. For this, we create a form class. I create a new forms.py file. Then we have to do some imports. So first I import the model form from django.forms. Then I import forms. With these forms, we can apply the desired look and feel to the input fields. And then from .models, import everything. Then I create here my forms class. So I call it chat message create form. Then I add here the meta class. The model or table we want is group message. I only want to display the body field. And then I'm also adding the widget property for the look and feel. So we just add here a placeholder of add message, some Tailwind CSS classes, then a max length of 300 characters, the same we defined already on the model class, and set autofocus to true. Alright, this is our form. Let's save this file, and let's import it in our views.py file. Then we instantiate the form and bind it to the form variable. But for some reason it doesn't recognize the form class. Let's try to import it by name. Okay, that seems to work. Alright, and now let's add the logic to save the message to the database. So if request.method equals to post, meaning a user added a new message through the form, we create here a form element with the post data. Then we check if the form is valid. Then before we can save the message to the database, we need to attach the author and the chat group to it. That's why we set commit to false here. Then I add here the author of the message, which is the logged in user. Then we add the group here, which is the chat group we defined earlier. And then we can save the message in the database. And after that, we redirect the user again to the home page. Later, we will let Htmx handle this to load messages dynamically to the page. Okay, let's import the redirect function. So it's part of the Django shortcuts. And as last, we have to pass this form also to the template. So down here, comma, form, colon, form. Alright, let's save this file. Let's add the form now to our template. So I'm going to the chat.html file. Then at the bottom, we have here the form element. So I'm getting rid of the input field here. And add my form variable. And whenever we have a form, we also have to add a CSRF token. Like that. Let's save this file and let's do a test. I refresh the page and add a message, test, and it works. Nice.
Nice.
But at the moment, the page basically refreshes all the time when we add a new message. Let's add Htmx now, which allows us to add only this message to the page without reloading the entire page. So let's go to our template. And here, firstly, we get rid of the method post. And then we add our Htmx attributes. So with hxPost, we're connecting to the home URL. Then hxTarget defines the location where we want the new messages to be placed. And then we swap in the new message at the end of the list, so before end. Alright, that's it. Save this file. Now let's change the view so we receive the new message as a partial from the backend. We could leave this condition as it is, request method equals to post, because it's still a post request, or we could also more specifically check for a Htmx request now. So if request.htmx, and instead of redirecting to home, we send back a Htmx partial with just this new message. So here's the path to this partial. We still have to create this file. And the context will include the objects this partial requires. So let's define it now. So context. First we have the message itself. And then also we have to add the user, because this partial is not aware of the request.user object. And we need the user to check if the author of the message is the logged in user. Okay. Save this file. And let's create this chat message partial. So grab here the full path. Click on my templates folder, then create a new file and paste it in here. So this created now our partials folder and the file. And this partial includes now the code for the new message. And because this code will be identical to the code on the homepage, I will create a separate module for it and include it in both locations. We still have to create this chat_message.html file, which includes the code for the message. Okay, let's save this file. Let's go to our chat.html file and find the message element. Let's collapse here again those li elements here. Then this code displays the message itself, so I cut it out from here. Then I create this file. So inside the chat folder here, I add chat_message.html and paste it in here. Let's align this code to the left, clicking Shift Tab. Okay, then save. And include this code also in the chat.html file. Okay, we stored the message element now in a separate file. Let's save and let's do a test. I refresh the page. I add a new message. And it works. We're loading this message now using Htmx.
Yes! That's awesome!
However, as we can see, the input field did not reset. We have to add this behavior ourselves. We could write some custom JavaScript for it, but my preferred way is to add a small line of Hyperscript, which is a small JavaScript library. Let's add it to the page now. So we're going to hyperscript.org, and here's the line we have to add to our website. So let's copy it. And then we include it in our base.html file in the templates folder. And add it to the head here. Alright. Save this file. We can close it. And now in our form here, we can simply add this line. Underscore equals, so the underscore here stands for Hyperscript. And it is triggered after Htmx request was sent to reset me, so reset this input field. Okay, save this file and let's check it out. I refresh the page, add a new test message, and there we go, the input field is reset. Okay, next, to make it more visually appealing, I'm adding a small fade-in animation. And I'm adding this animation to the partial. This is our partial, so I wrap this now in a div and apply an animation to it. I add here the class fadeInUp, and as the name suggests, I want a fade-in animation using opacity combined with a moving up animation. We can write this animation with pure CSS. I'm adding this CSS declaration straight in here. You can also add it in a separate CSS file. The class here defines the animation, and it is using the fade in and up animation using keyframes, which allow styles to occur over a specific duration. In this case, we have two keyframes, the starting position at 0 opacity and vertically displaced by 12 pixels, and the end position with the element moved back to its original position and opacity 1, meaning fully visible. Alright, save this file and let's test it out. I refresh, test 3, and there we go, a nice fade-in animation. Let's add another message. But as we can notice here, the message is not visible because the chat window did not scroll down. Let's implement an automatic scroll to the last message. So for this we have to write a little bit of JavaScript. So let's go to our chat.html file. Then here at the very bottom, I'm adding this JavaScript block. So basically we're creating here a scroll to bottom function, which targets the chat container and creates this scroll to bottom behavior. And then we call this function here. Okay, save this file. Now, as we have this code in a JavaScript block, we have to make sure this block actually exists in our base.html file as well. Base.html. So let's add this JavaScript block at the bottom here. We include it just before the closing body tag. Alright, save this file. And now we include this function also in our partial. So the chat window scrolls down when a new message is loaded. So let's go to our chat message partial.html file. And here at the bottom, I add the script and call the function. Alright, save this file and let's check it out. I refresh the page. We can already see the page scrolled now down to the last message. I add a new message, test 5, and great, it scrolled down to the last message. Alright, that's all for this video. So we implemented now a basic chat application which loads content dynamically with Htmx. In the next video we will upgrade this project to a WebSocket connection and use Django channels. I hope to see you there. Until next time my friends, stay curious and ciao ciao for now.